Hello everyone, and welcome to my Duel Today official news channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. After Nicole is lost, does EJ's sinister Stefano DiMera turn into a full-fledged bad guy? According to teasers for Days of Our Lives, Stefano DiMera's departure left a gap in the DiMera clan, therefore someone else needs to step up and assume his role as the family's more nefarious member. Tony DiMera isn't as active these days and is too content with Anna DiMera to risk their romance by becoming villains in any case. Recently, Stefan DiMera's persona has taken on a menacing tone, although he is not choosing this. Fans of Days are witnessing Stefan grudgingly and clumsily carry out the commands of another villain, proving that he is not a good fit to succeed Stefano. Of the DiMera brothers, Chad is undoubtedly the kindest and least inclined to emulate his evil father. Fans of DOL are aware that Chad would much prefer concentrate on his children and perhaps find a way to experience true happiness once more. Regarding Kristen DiMera, she spends excessive amounts of effort on trivial schemes. Kristen's obsession with Brady Black while she's not incarcerated also makes her an unsuitable candidate to succeed Stefano. After some dramatic twists unfold in the coming months, EJ DiMera might have the best chance of carrying the genuine DiMera flame. Fans of Days will remember that, with Tina Huang's assistance, Sloan Patterson Brady took Nicole DiMera's kid. Because of all the falsehoods surrounding his paternity, EJ believes Nicole was his child. That's why, once the truth is revealed, EJ can spiral out of control severely. When he finds that Jude Brady isn't his, EJ will have to deal with the heartbreaking and infuriating loss all over again. We should see him lose it over the baby theft. Given how terrible EJ's relationship with Nicole is, that might not even be the worst of it. Nicole ought to be written out unless something changes because there hasn't been any word of a recast after Ariane Zucker leaves the role on screen. Days will most likely just send Nicole back in Eric Brady's romantic path, as they have so frequently done in the past, even if a recast does occur, especially because he is Jude's father. Having said that, Nicole leaving could be the most likely scenario. By soap opera standards, EJ and Nicole have been together for far too long, so an unhappy ending is definitely overdue. EJ has a soft spot for Nicole, but once he loses her, no matter how it happens, that could go. It's possible that a darker, more menacing EJ will emerge to replace Stefano by going full villain. Stay tuned for updates on the stunning news that's coming soon. Spoilers for Days of Our Lives hint that EJ will be going through some major changes in the near future. Teresa's confession rocks Tate, but Stefan botches the Harris hit. According to the Friday, March 1st spoilers for Days of Our Lives, Stefan DiMera, Brandon Barish, arrived at the hospital disguised as a doctor and entered Harris Michael's room while wearing a surgical mask. Stefan was anxious about attempting to elude Officer Goldman, but she startled him by expressing gratitude for her presence, stating that she was in need of a cappuccino break. Stefan discovered she was working for Clyde when Officer Goldman patted him on the arm and inquired if he needed anything. Harris's eyes opened, and he jumped out of bed to see Stefan as soon as he entered his room and started to inject the contents of the bottle into his fore. Stefan resisted having any other option despite Harris putting him in a chokehold during a violent altercation. Harris countered that Stefan had attempted to kill a police officer twice and that Stefan's fingerprints were all over the syringe, proving that everyone makes decisions. Harris added that Stefan was taking the fall for this and that he was going to assist him in eliminating Clyde Weston, James Reed, after making it apparent that he was now issuing the instructions. Harris said Stefan could leave and he'd get in touch after getting Stefan to ensure that he understood. Stefan ran out of the room, but Harris stumbled back into bed, gasping for air. When Officer Goldman showed up, he seemed shocked to learn Harris was still alive. Goldman reached for her handgun as Harris's plans began to come together, but she changed her mind upon seeing a medical staff member walk into the room. In the end, Harris concluded that Officer Goldman had to be one of Clyde's moles and she fled. Steve Johnson discussed Trip Johnson and Wendy Shin's case with John Black in his office until Brady Black called to inquire about his father's visitation with Tate Black. After receiving assurances from Steve that he could manage without him for a while, John did indeed make his way to Tate's new halfway home. When Constantine Meliones arrived to rehash what transpired in Aria, Steve was left alone. When it came right out, Steve admitted that he was the pawn's handler and claimed that nobody was meant to die that day. Steve didn't know the identity of the young girl who had been shot when he returned from taking a call from Victor Kyriakis at the time. Steve now recognized that was Katharina and that Konstantin was the man who was unconscious next to her. Steve, however, stood up for John and said that the programming was the work of crazy Stefano DiMera. Steve said that now that Stefano and Victor were dead, Konstantin could spit on their graves if he so desired. Steve believed that John was a nice man who had endured enough suffering, but Konstantin boasted about his personal hardships and demanded that John pay for Steve's suffering as well. On Friday's episode of Days, Brady was upset to discover that he wasn't on Tate's guest list at his halfway house. Tate let Teresa Donovan in by herself while Brady gave John updates on the situation. John seems keen to speak well of Brady when Brady encouraged him to visit his grandson. Tate confided in Teresa in the visiting room that therapy had revealed a lot to him regarding Brady's lack of support during his childhood, particularly after they relocated to California. Teresa said that since she had lied to secure custody and implicate Brady in a murder case, that was her fault. Teresa acknowledged that she had concealed Brady from Tate, but it was her who had demanded that they relocate to California. Tate was stunned by the news, but Teresa was not finished. Teresa acknowledged that she had slipped in her recuperation, but she also mentioned how supportive Brady had been to her. John heard a portion of Teresa's confession and supported her in her belief that Brady was in love with Tate, who eventually gave Brady permission to enter. Brady believed John had reached his son, but Tate acknowledged that Teresa was the one who finally made him see the light. When Brady learned of Teresa's admission, he hugged Tate, who expressed regret for placing the blame on his father, and praised her. Tate gave Teresa a hug as well, complimenting her courage for coming clean to him. Holly Jonas appeared irritated with Nicole DiMera, Ariane Zucker, in the DiMera estate during Friday's DOL broadcast, but Nicole obviously didn't want to overpower her. After spending so much time in bed, DiMera said that Holly shouldn't let her muscles atrophy, which made Holly question how long she had been unconscious. Holly was able to eventually get them to respond when she moved over to a chair with EJ's assistance and consumed some of the food Nicole had provided. Holly became curious about how she got into a coma after realizing she had reportedly been in one for months. Holly was asked if she remembered where she obtained the opioid-laced medications that EJ stated were discovered in her system by Nicole and EJ. Holly didn't, but she gave out an uneasy vibe and behaved as though her drink had been drugged. EJ urged Nicole to see it in a moment alone with her in the corridor, hoping to seize the opportunity to claim that Tate had roofied Holly. Holly, in the meantime, looked thoughtful as she spoke Tate's name out loud and recalled kissing him before their date. Following that, Holly appeared to be asleep while Nicole talked to EJ in her room on Friday's episode of Days. If Holly took the pills voluntarily, Nicole believed it would be her fault and that Holly would become a bad mother as a result. After Holly had some time to herself again, she opened her eyes and let the fans of Days know that she had been listening in on the disturbing discussion. According to spoilers for Days of Our Lives, Holly will soon have to make some tough choices.